Today's webinar will feature Tiffany Esposito, President and CEO of the Bonita Springs Area Chamber, and Rick Baker, President and CEO of the Grand Rapids Area Chamber. Before I turn the program over to our presenters, I have just a few housekeeping notes. First, attendees are in listen-only mode during the webinar to avoid background noise. Second, after the presentation, we will have time for questions, and you can ask those questions by using the question function of the webinar. The question box is on the lower right-hand corner of your screen. Just open that box, type in your question, and I will read the question to the panel after the presentation. Feel free to type in any questions that come to mind during the presentation, and we'll take them afterwards. If we run out of time and don't get to your question, or if you have a question that you would prefer to discuss with one of the presenters individually offline, please feel free to contact them directly. Their contact information will be included at the end of the presentation. If you've typed a question in and we haven't gotten to it, we will also get back directly to you after the webinar. And third, the webinar presentation slides will be posted along with the webinar recording after the webinar is over, and they should be up on our website in 2 business days, so about Monday, December 9th or before. So with that, I will go ahead and introduce our presenters. Rick Baker is President and CEO of the Grand Rapids Area Chamber of Commerce, whose mission it is to help West Michigan businesses connect, grow, and succeed. Rick previously served as President and COO of the Quad Cities Chamber of Commerce in Moline, Illinois, and Davenport, Iowa, which was formed through the merger of 3 chambers of commerce and a regional economic development organization that Rick conceptualized and led. Rick's a 1995 graduate of the University of Colorado Institute of Organization Management and is on the ACCE Board of Directors. He's a Minnesota native and a graduate of Upper Iowa University. Tiffany Esposito is the President and CEO of the Bonita Springs Area Chamber of Commerce. She's been in the chamber industry for over 10 years in various roles and holds a degree in communications as well as a Master's of Business Administration. In her role at the chamber, Tiffany also leads the chamber's foundation and the South Lee EDC. The Bonita Springs Chamber has been awarded the 5-star accreditation designation by the U.S. Chamber of Commerce since 2007, with 2 of the awards being under Tiffany's leadership. She also recently earned her CCE designation and is a proud ACCE board member. So thank you, Tiffany, and thank you, Rick, for presenting. And with that, I will turn the presentation over to Rick to start us off.
Thank you, Susan, and welcome everyone. Hopefully we will present some information that you'll all find valuable. Just a little bit of background before I get started on our community and chamber. Just real quickly, Grand Rapids MSA is about 1.3 million. Our Chamber of Commerce turned 132 years old last month. We have 2,400 members and about 30 employees. So that kind of helped hopefully frame the conversation or understand the conversation a little bit today. We started our process for reinventing our space and moving to a new location was about a 2-year process. We were in a previous location for quite some time and thought of it as an opportunity for us to make a very visible change in our community. Our vision was threefold. We wanted our space to help us attract and retain quality talent to our team. We thought it would be a great opportunity to remake and rebrand ourselves along with relocating to new space. And we wanted to see if our space could actually be a benefit to our members rather than just an overhead to our organization. So that was our vision when we started our process in 2016, and we moved into our completed space in March of 2018. Before we dive right into the new space, let me take you backward a little bit. Our previous office was very traditional office space, ground floor, street level, downtown Grand Rapids space, 8,800 square feet. We had been in the space for about 30 years. It was very much about staff, not about members. It was a place for us to work. This is our reception area. And then another shot of the reception area. This will be relevant a little bit later when I talk about numbers, because this is counted in member space. And then we had a couple of small meeting rooms, but not a lot of places for our members, and not much reason for our members to come to our offices. The maximum capacity of our 2 meeting rooms when we put them together was about 30 people. So we could hold our board meetings there, some committee meetings, and occasionally a small reception or something, but nothing too extravagant. The rest of the space was a maze of cubicles and private offices, much like very traditional offices that exist all over the country and all over our community. Everyone, and this is an important piece because it's our ability to change the way we work in the future that we'll talk about. But in the old way, every person was assigned a piece of real estate, a desk, a cubicle, office, whatever it might be, but you consume that real estate, whether you were in the office or not. It was dedicated to you. We viewed this opportunity to move to new spaces like it's more than just a relocation, as I mentioned in our vision, but an opportunity to really engage our members more, look for additional revenue, and grow our membership, be more relevant to our members, and as well as providing, kind of space for innovation and greater customer satisfaction. Our space was really about our members and for our members. We wanted to become the physical epicenter of business activity in Grand Rapids. We were kind of the virtual epicenter of business activity in the past. The chambers typically are, but we also wanted to become the actual physical center. So we had that in mind as we were working on our space. With that vision and our goals in mind, we created these 5 design concepts, or principles rather, that our architects and our real estate people used as we searched for space. We wanted to create an environment that was multifunctional and multi-purpose spaces so that we could maximize and be efficient with our real estate. We wanted to minimize the number of specialized spaces. We wanted the design to be timeless space that reflects the innovation and creativity of the West Michigan business environment. We wanted our space to be able to enhance our connections with our members and prospective members, the community, and as well as between individual team members within our own organization. We wanted our space to provide a balanced work environment, allowing people to move into different workspaces based on the kind of work they might be doing at that particular time. And we also wanted to maximize the connection to the outside. Our previous office being ground floor in the middle of the downtown, we had windows at the front of the space, but the rest of it was more like a cave. It was a long, narrow space with limited access to outside lighting. And our new space has windows in every direction you look. And we felt that was important as well. We created some measurements. We wanted to know what success would look like when we were completed with our space and moved in. And so we created some measurements, and we continue to track these measurements to this day about member engagement, the number of people coming into our space. Has it affected revenue? Have we been able to grow our organization? And are we providing value to our members? And are we seeing them engage with us in a different way and engaging with in our office? This is a visual of kind of the flip the script, I'll call it, from our previous space to our current space. As I mentioned in the past, our older office was primarily about the staff. 80% of our space was committed to what we call residential space, real estate for our staff. 12% of those 2 meeting rooms were considered programmatic. And then the 8%, back to that picture of the lobby, the reception area, considered gathering connecting space, although I would argue not very good gathering and connecting space. We've been able to actually more than just completely flip that script. That we're now 50% of our space is for programming. We have 36% of our space is for gathering and connecting, and only 14% remains committed to staff occupation and real estate. We moved from 8,800 square feet, as I mentioned previously. Our new space is now 10,000 square feet. This image you see here is one of our one of the rooms in our conference center. Our space is split between 2 levels. We'll talk a little bit more about that and share some images in a moment. The first floor is a work cafe, and the second floor is split between our conference center and place for our staff to work, as well as a catering kitchen area for our caterers to be able to prepare, or not prepare meals, but to prepare them for service. This is an image of one of our, again, part of our conference center. We are able to host more of our own meetings and programs in our space now that we used to host out in the community. We still host a lot out in the community because our space maximizes out, tops out at about 130 if we set it up in round tables, slightly less than that if we set it up in the tables that are here in this image, but also more than that if we just have chairs. But we don't often use just chairs. It's not a comfortable way to have people participate in our programming. The image to the right is the exterior of the building. That's about a 30-year-old or 40-year-old building, but completely renovated and modernized, and really met the image of what we were looking for our organization versus the older style that we had previously. This image here is an image of part of our work cafe. It's one of our members working here. Our members are invited to come into the space as a benefit of being a member of the Grand Rapids Chamber. We have free Wi-Fi. We have coffee that's provided by one of our coffee shops here in Grand Rapids that's been around for a long time. To the end down there, you can see there's that door is a small boardroom, about 14 people it'll hold, and there are 3 small little enclave rooms. If people need to step in and make a phone call, to do have a conversation that they want a little more private, those are reservable, but you don't have to reserve them. If they're open and you need to make a call, they can step into the space. We paid for all of the cost of the move through sponsorships. We sponsored everything we could find, everything we could think of. We tried to find a sponsor for. Even the water system that we have for drinking water that we provide at no cost is provided by one of our members. Each conference room has a sponsor, and even the spaces, even for lesser costs, you can see up here in the circle. We allowed multiple companies to say that they were sponsoring in the work cafe and have their name on the wall. But then there's an overarching sponsor of the whole work cafe, Consumers Energy. So they get additional recognition. We sold the sponsorships as a 5-year commitment. And so they will have the rights to have their name on the rooms or whatever item that they sponsored for 5 years. And then it provides us an opportunity for additional revenue income in the future to go back to these companies, ask them to continue that commitment through an annual sponsorship, so to speak. That's part of the reason we wanted to measure activity in our space, because we wanted to be able to go back to them and show them the value of their sponsorship that they were getting from the visibility. The images here, there's 2 images here I'll talk about first, and then I'll show you, share some of the results that we've been measuring. As I mentioned earlier, the 2 images, now you have a different view of our work cafe to get another idea of what it looks like. This is what it looks like during the day, but as I mentioned in the beginning, we wanted our spaces to be multi-purpose. And so we use this for our own purposes, and we also rent this out for receptions. And it's been used a lot for receptions. We happen to be directly across the hall from our convention center and performance hall. And so, for instance, last week, we hosted a reception for about 250 people prior to going to the Lion King production at Broadway Grand Rapids, just across the street. And so we've done that ourselves, and we've had companies do the same thing. The top picture shows a portion of our workspace for our employees. No one here has an office, including myself. That space that you see in that image is called Nomad Spaces. It's owned by no one. If it's open, you want to sit down and plug into the keyboard, and the phone is there. You can log into the phone and make it your own. That becomes your space for as long as you need it. But when you're done, you take your things with you and put them in a backpack and free it up for someone else. When we moved to this type of work environment, through our process, we studied the way our employees work. We found that less than half of them are in the office at any given time, and so we don't actually have enough spaces that look like that for everyone to sit down at the same time. But they have access to the work cafe. They have access to so many other parts of the office. They can sit down and work anywhere they want to throughout the day, depending on the kind of work they're doing. But we also have enough, as you maybe in the background see in that upper picture, of the private kind of spaces, so that if they need quiet time, heads down time, they can go into those spaces, shut the door, do their work, and be uninterrupted. I happen to be in an office right now. It's just very small, not much bigger than the picture that you see up in that small room ahead on the top there. But it's set up like an office. There's a small desk and a credenza to the side and a bookshelf, but it doesn't belong to anyone. And actually, I find myself working in here the least of any place. I found working out in amongst the staff has been very rewarding, and it's helped create a great culture for us as an organization. The staff really likes the change. I think they all too have benefited from the greater communication and collaboration. Our members have also embraced the new space. We've gotten great response. We've had 490 companies that have leased the space from us, either in our conference centers or the boardroom that I mentioned down in the lower level, the reception space that you can see in this picture right now. As you see, we measure everyone that comes through the door, whether they are coming for an event or if it's a company that's rented the space, if they're just coming to work in the work cafe or coming to have a meeting with one of our staff or a committee meeting. We try to track all of that, again, so that we can report back to our investors. So in our first 18 months, we've had, as you can see, just short of 15,000 visitors into our space. And I can tell you, because of our old space, there was really no reason for people to come to our office. I think this would have taken at least a decade to hit that number of visitors coming to our space in our previous location. Our members, as I mentioned, have really embraced it. We've heard multiple times, like, this is really a great benefit for being a member. People have joined because of the space and have the ability to access the work cafe or ability to access the meeting space for their own conferences or meetings or executive planning sessions. We love seeing executive leadership teams of their major companies in our area doing their strategic planning in our office. It's a great synergy for us and an energy booster for our team. This picture I'll just show briefly, because it what captures here is some of the different postures. In the furniture world, they call it different postures. And so the opportunity to move around and work in different kinds of spaces, different from what I just had in the previous image. We have couches, we have chairs, we have the larger table that you see one of our employees working at in the background. And we have sort of we have a written protocol, but we also have kind of an unwritten protocol where people are working and how available they are to be interrupted, even though they don't have an office with a door that they can close. And so if you're down in the work cafe, you're clearly stating that it's okay to be interrupted. If you're sitting at one of the stations in the Nomad and have earphones in, you don't want to be interrupted. But if you're sitting like where Dante's sitting in the background there by the Create Great sign, you are visually signifying to others that I'm trying to focus and maintain a commitment to work I'm getting done here. So it's worked out really well for us as an organization. We've coupled our move with a rebranding of our organization, and you can see the Create Great in the background, and a redevelopment of our team and a refocus of our organization. And knowing that moving would give us some visibility and we'll be able to get some further mileage, I guess, out of reinventing ourselves just by physically moving. With that, I'll stop there and turn it over to my colleague for her part of the presentation, and then we'll open it up for questions at the end of our presentations. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Rick. Now I'll switch over to Tiffany.
All right, thank you. So my name's, sorry, go ahead. You good?
Go ahead, Tiffany.
Thank you. Oh, hang on. Perfect. So I'm Tiffany Esposito. I'm the president and CEO of the Bonita Springs Area Chamber of Commerce. I always like to know who's on the other end of the phone, so there's me in front of our hub sign and my contact information if you guys have any questions. Thank you, Rick, for your presentation. I've had the opportunity to see the Grand Rapids Chamber and all of the great work that they've been doing, and I was in awe. We have a very different model than they do, but still similar concept of how we interact with our members. So a little background on us. We are in Southwest Florida. We are about 2 hours south of Tampa, 2 hours west of Miami. We have about 700 members. 6 staff members. We host chamber, foundation, and economic development in our organization. We have about $1 million in gross revenue. We're a 5-star accredited chamber. Our county population is about 750,000, and that's basically our MSA area. Our service area is roughly about 150,000. We cover 2 municipalities and 2 areas of 2 separate counties that are both unincorporated. So our geography is a little messy sometimes. But this is our building. So we have been in our building since 1995, and we, like Rick, started with a vision for a different need for our space. So we started looking at other buildings, other areas, and what we realized was we have a fantastic asset in a great part of town on a main highway that we weren't willing to give up to move somewhere else. So we decided to renovate. So we created the hub. So the hub is a place where you can gather, convene, support, and grow. We're the hub for business, the same center, the influencers. We provide access and we make things happen. So I'm going to start a little bit with why we created the hub and how we got here. Like a lot of other chambers, we were seeing a steady but consistent decline in membership and constantly hearing the question of what's the value of membership. So we all know that we do great things, and sometimes it's difficult to articulate what it is that we do. And again, similar to Rick, we wanted to make a space where we were able to physically show our members what we were doing. So we're mainly a programs chamber. We have about 120 events a year, and our model's always been based on more is better rather than the right opportunities for the right people to connect. People want to connect on their own time and in their own way, and we really got to this point through going through the Horizon study. We took 12 months and 1 month, one section per month during our board meetings, we went through the Horizon initiative and really looked at how does this affect our community, how does this affect our chamber, and how are we going to effectively evolve in the future so that we can remain relevant. Tom from Lancaster, Pennsylvania had said it once, and it really stuck with me. You know, we want to change from a position of strength rather than get to a point where we are losing members left and right and we don't have a solution to fix it. So one of the sections that stuck with us the most and really led to creating the hub is the nature of belonging and gathering. It's something that we are excellent at in our small town, and it's something that we can not only compete but excel. Whereas with communications and technology, you know, I can't compete with Google. We can't compete with Expedia. We can't compete with these TripAdvisor because we're in a tourism-related town. So what we're really good at is convening people and bringing people together. So through the whole Horizon study, we realized we're great at relationships and engagement and gathering people and creating positive dialogue and opportunities and solving problems. What we were missing was a place to do all of these things. So we realized that we are a people organization. We're inclusive of all of our people within our region. We're great at convening people and creating conversation. We're a business organization. We provide resources and factual information and educational opportunities. And we're a community organization. We proactively create an intentional path for people to convene and do good within our community, whether it's policy or whether it's serving on nonprofit boards, a lot of the same work that I know all of you do. So connecting the dots back to the hub, we're a people organization, we're a business organization, and we're a community organization. We're great at connecting, convening, gathering, and creating meaningful relationships. What we were missing was a place for all of this to happen. So welcome to the hub. So this is our floor plan of our building. We have roughly 6,000 square feet, and this center 2,000 square feet was a traditional visitor center. Lots of pamphlets and brochures, and I'll flip through some pictures here for you to get an idea of what it looked like. It was renovated in 2006, and to say we had a lot of paper in this building is an understatement. Like I said, we're in a tourism town, and a visitor center is something that used to be valuable to our members. In the heyday, we would have 30,000 people come in and visit us. With the dawn of the internet and, like I said, things like TripAdvisor and all of those wonderful things, we became less of a resource, and we had not evolved yet. So we've got this great asset. We have this great space. We're centrally located. Now we need to figure out what to do with it. So with the creation of the hub, we decided to, like Rick, create a member benefit. We wanted to make sure it was something that continued to be valuable for our members, and something that we heard over and over from our professional services, our business-to-business members, was they stopped printing things, but what they needed was a place to meet. It really dawned on me one day when I had 3 meetings in Starbucks in the same day, and I was really tired of my hair smelling like coffee. This is our community room, which I'll show you a renovated picture of it as well, but similar to Rick, private spaces to meet. We can fit 30 people boardroom style, and we can fit up to 70 people theater style, and it's open to anyone, and it's constantly being used. We'll go over a little bit of it as I get to the latter half of the presentation, but we were on a tight budget, so we did a lot of demo on our own. I'm in the red shirt right there, and the one behind the ladder is one of my board members, and the one on the ladder is our member services representative. But we came in on Saturdays. The one in the center there is my husband. So we recruited manual labor from anywhere we could. We had a lot of support from not only board members and volunteers, but just community in general. And like I said, we'll go over that a little bit more when I get to the finance part, but now the fun part is what it looks like now and how people use it. So this is our new hub. You can see, like Rick, we have a lot of flexible seating. It's something that we were very focused on making sure that it could be whatever it needed to be, whenever it needed to be it. We have 2 private suites in the back, semi-private suites in the back that allow for reservations, but you don't have to make a reservation. If it's open, you can use it, but it gives our members some peace of mind if they know that they're hosting a meeting, that they will have a space. We get a lot of use of those 2 spaces. It's open and cheerful and comfortable and really just a quiet place to relax and get some work done. Free coffee, free Wi-Fi. We are strategically located in between 2 major cities, and a lot of our members have an office in one or both of those cities, but they work across the whole region. So we're a nice center point and landing zone when they have time to go between a meeting, or they want to meet someone halfway and they need a quiet place. So it's really been a great addition to our community and value add to our members. something that has been very confusing for people is that we say it's free and you don't need to be a member. Anybody can use it. And they always look at me with a strange face and they say, what do you mean it's free? And I'm like, it's free. Like, you don't have to pay for anything. And we developed it that way so that it could open a pipeline for new relationships for us as well as new relationships for our members. You all know if you go out to lunch anywhere in your town or you go out to a coffee shop and you sit down and you're talking to someone, you run into 3 other someones that you know or 3 other someones that the person you're meeting with knows. So it's those engineered collisions of creating a place where everyone can engage and interact with people that they may not have met and continue to build their network. And we've seen that already in the way that people are using the space. We see people really just hang out for no reason, which is awesome. In our back suites, we have, they're glass, so you can write on the walls. We've got the chalkboard marker things in there, and you can do strategic planning. You can fit about 8 people in those, and it's really a great size. We had, if you can see the gentleman on the left, he was his brand new business, and he's building a new facility, but he was trying to ramp up his staff before his building was done. So he did all of his interviews and all of his training in the hub. One of the challenges that we've had is retraining people on how to use the space. And similar to Rick, we have a lot of people come in, kind of put their headphones on and go to work. That's fantastic. We also have other people that come in and have meetings, do interviews, things like that. Where we just opened in September. We did our grand opening, and we're still in the process of marketing. What is it? How do you use it? Why it's important to them? Like I said, people are very confused when you say that it's free and you don't need to be a member. So creating a general understanding of how to use the space is what we're working on. We have a marketing campaign set up to launch, doing a lot of social media advertising and things like that in January. After the holidays and all the noise of the holidays. So these are 2 suites. This is just a screenshot of our website. You can go to our website and check it out and see how it works. It's a widget that we added to our website or a plugin that we added to our website, and it is directly connected to an Outlook calendar. So it requires no staff time to manage this reservation system, which was a very important part of how we developed not only the hub, but everything that supports the hub. We created as much to be automated as we could so that we didn't have to have it be very staff intensive. And it was a few slides back. So on our floor plan, the way that it's set up is our staff offices are all on one side, and then the hub is in the center, and our boardroom, kitchens, and restroom are on the other side. So we're constantly walking back and forth, interacting with members who are in the hub, in the boardroom, using the kitchen, and it really has a fantastic flow. So the $1 million question is always, how much did it cost, right? So our out-of-pocket expense was roughly $19,000. It was very minimal due to the generosity of our members. We had interior design services, handyman services, demolition, furniture, and floors for the entire 6,000 square foot renovation, all donated. The out-of-pocket expense was mainly for paint. $14,000 of it was for interior paint, and then just some miscellaneous things like trash cans and small furniture pieces to finish off the space and things like that. Our ongoing operational expenses have been offset by donations and sponsorships, including the coffee is donated by one of our commercial coffee brewers. It's great exposure for him. And then we also have revenue opportunities that were generated by the creation of the hub. So you can see we have some logo recognition. We were very strategic in making it minimal because we didn't want to affect the feel of the space. In our old space, we had a lot of stuff on the walls, a lot of advertisements, a lot of event notifications, just a lot of things and noise on the walls. So we, like I said, very strategic in making sure that we kept the look and the feel of the space clean and welcoming, and we carried that through in our sponsorship opportunities as well. And you can see my shower door and Physicians Regional up on the glass displays. The glass displays were also donated. We also have a water fountain. So we're in a coastal community, so the no plastics conversation is really big here. They tried to ban plastic straws in our last legislative session. And so we have a water fountain down the hall, and we have Turbis cups that we use to refill. And our local utility sponsored a brand new water fountain and all the signage around the water fountain to showcase that they provide wonderful drinking water. So great partnership so we have some name recognition. We also have a Wi-Fi sponsorship, and this is how we track how many people use the space as well. So this is I think I forgot the name of it. It's called BetaBox, I think. It's an online service that we purchased, and you can see that this is the template. It says Social Pantry. That's the company that purchased like the Wi-Fi sponsorship, and they get to set up their own landing page. So when someone comes into our building, similar to like when you log on to Wi-Fi at a hotel, it pops up saying, hey, great, we want you to join our Wi-Fi. It's free. Just put in your name and email address. And oh, by the way, here's a message from our sponsor. And here's how you can click through to like their page. And what it allows us to do is have a little checkbox saying, yes, you can share my information with the sponsor. So we're able to share email addresses with the sponsor and track quantity of use within the building without having the unreliable door counter kind of system. It's a sponsorship that we have put a $6,000 price tag on. We haven't sold it yet, but I'm hopeful for 2020. Another part of the $100,000 is we have naming rights for our community room that I mentioned earlier, and that was a $25,000 naming right. And in all of our promotions, a company called DMA sponsored it. So in all of our promotions, we call it the DMA community room. They have logo recognition on both the inside and the outside of the room. And that has been very helpful. Like I said, keeping it very minimal in what we put on the walls and where we put it and how we recognize some of our sponsors. So this is just one of the promos that we have for the hub. We branded it separately but jointly, so our logo looks nothing like this, but we want everyone to know that it's the hub at the Bonita Chamber. It's been really well received. Everybody loves it, and we're perfectly located. So bringing it kind of full circle, we created the hub because we wanted to leverage the things that we're really good at, and that's people, that's relationships, and that's bringing people together and convening a conversation. Some of the other things that it's allowed us to do is to create specific niche programming with the space. So for instance, we are in January starting a business book club. And we'll have a few different groups that all meet. So the marketing people might be reading a marketing book, and the sole proprietors might be reading something on how to stay sane working from home, and just have the opportunity to sit in the hub and have conversations around that book. So it doesn't require any staff time to put it together, and they're still interacting with us as an organization and us as a space through the hub. So really a way to engage more people, like I said, in ways that they want to engage without needing to add a bunch of staff time to it. Because with a staff of 6, that's something that we always have to consider is what are the resources that we're investing in something and what's that return. Some lessons learned. It always takes longer than you think it's going to. So we started the Horizon Study, and we did the Horizon Study for about a year. And this idea kind of bubbled up through that. We did about 2 months of planning, 5 months of construction, and then another few months kind of preparing for final touches, grand opening, all of that fun stuff, getting furniture in place, and then we launched. So we launched in September, and we're a very seasonal community. So our season starts about October and runs through Easter, April timeframe. So we have a very different message this time of the year than we will in the summertime. And the next step, this is the beginning of a lot of changes that we're making including a complete rebrand, and we're changing our business model and our membership model to be something completely different that we will be able to use to, again, leverage the space and the physical presence that we have within the community to further our goals and our mission and our why. So with that, I think we'll skip to questions.
Okay. Thanks, Tiffany, and thanks, Rick, for your presentation. Gorgeous spaces, such creative and innovative ways you're using them to engage with your members and your community and support your organizations. So folks, now's the time to type in questions if you have any, either for Tiffany or for Rick, or for both. Again, open up the question box on your webinar panel and type in your question, and I will read it. And we do have a few to get started. Question for Rick: how do you manage space availability? Do you have a reservation process for offices or meeting rooms that employees can reserve them to use?
So yes, internally we have an Outlook calendar. Every individual's on the Outlook calendar, but every room is also on the calendar. And so when an internal person schedules a meeting, they can look to see if that room is available and then just request it as a resource in Outlook as the location of the meeting. And they're all branded based on the name of the company that sponsored the room. For external users that are using the boardroom or the conference center or any of the places that they want to make a reservation, we have one person on our staff that's dedicated to managing that relationship. She makes sure that we have a contract signed by the person that's or the company that's renting the space or reserving the space. We've had preferred catering lists. We've had all of our caterers go through training if they want to be on our list. And so then she provides the person renting the space with that catering list, and has one person that manages all that and gets the room set up according to what they need to do that. That is not her full-time job. It's part of what she does for us.
Okay, thanks, Rick. A question for Tiffany on reservations. What is the name of the reservation widget you're using?
I knew you were going to ask me that. I don't know. I will find out, and I will let you know in just a second.
Okay. Let's see here. I can, while you're looking that up, back to Rick, how do you keep the space members only?
We have people log in when they arrive, and if they're not a member, we engage them with one of our membership managers. We're not going to throw them out at the moment, but we do let them know that, this is a space that's for our members. We're glad they're here. Like to talk to them about membership. We haven't really broadly advertised the space to the community because it is for members only, but we have promoted the space to our members. So we have not had the situation very often where someone just walks in and that's not a member and wants to use the space.
Okay, and sort of a follow-up question to that, for Rick, you, and also to Tiffany, how have you been marketing the space to members to make them aware of it?
For us, we push it out, not all the time, but we push it out through our different communication channels every once in a while. But it's been more about as the people come in. So it's been less about marketing and more about showing. And so we've had a few events just to highlight the space early on. But then as we host some of our own events in the conference center, as we conclude the event, we always remind people that the work cafe downstairs is for them, for their use anytime during our business hours, and kind of invite them to come back and use that space if they haven't already. So it's been a lot more that way of marketing than it has been in really traditional sense of marketing.
Okay.
Ours has been very similar. Ours has been very similar. We use the same, we use our normal channels, email, social media. Print is still a big deal here, so we use our newspaper relationships, and we also hosted a few specific events to show off the space, and we've really been encouraging individual invitations. So it's been fantastic for me. I'm not driving all over town like I used to, where whenever someone wants to have a meeting, I'm like, great, meet me in the hub, because the more people that come here and see it, and then I encourage them to have their meetings in the hub, and similar to our board members and our volunteers and our key leaders. But answering the earlier question as well, the plugin that we use on our website is called Calendly. It's CALENDLY.com, and it's a plugin that goes into a WordPress site, and it connects to an Outlook calendar.
Okay.
I would echo what Tiffany just said about having more of our own meetings in our space. We find I'm not running around town as much as I used to either, and that people are wanting to come here to meet with us.
Okay, great, thank you. Question on furniture. One of our attendees noticed that the Grand Rapids furniture is all on wheels, or it looked like it was all on wheels, while the furniture at Bonita Springs appeared stationary. What works best? And any thoughts on the cost of furniture overall? Well,
we're a furniture capital here in Grand Rapids, so we want to encourage everybody to buy new furniture as often as possible. Our work cafe, none of the furniture in the work cafe is really on wheels. That's pretty stationary, but we can move it when we're having receptions. Most of what was on wheels that you would have seen were the tables, the classroom style tables in the conference center. And that is very handy to have on wheels so that it's easy for them to flip up and stack together and wheel them out of the room if we need to switch out the layout, or to switch over to the round tables that we have. For more of an event where you'd have a meal or something like that. So those tables are kind of nice to have on wheels for that purpose.
Ours is very similar. Our boardroom furniture is on wheels, which is very helpful. We struggle with when we have to swap the room out. We don't have any place to put all the furniture in a storage capacity, so it ends up in the hallways and in staff offices, and we make do, but that stuff's on wheels and extremely helpful because we're constantly moving the space around. The furniture in the hub is extremely light, so it's great because we can easily pick it up and move it around in whatever configuration we need. We are looking at how can we find or create a space where it's kind of like one long community table right down the center for specific programming like community conversations and those types of things that we want to have some specific programming and events around.
And Tiffany, did you say that your furniture was donated or sponsored?
So we
are paid for by members?
So some of it has been sponsored. We're waiting on furniture from the Hyatt Regency. Our local Hyatt Regency has completely redesigned and renovated their lobby area. So they're giving us all of their recently reupholstered furniture. So as soon as we get that, we'll have another. We're planning kind of a 1-year anniversary to launch that. We'll have it in 2020, but we didn't want to wait that long to open the hub. So we had some other furniture that was supported by sponsor dollars, and so that we could get open, and it's worked out really well.
Okay. Question for Rick. How do you keep track of or calculate the number of visitors to your space? You have some numbers up on one of your slides. How did you track those?
Well, if it's an event, if it's one of our events, we know the registrations, and so we track that way. If there's someone coming in to work in the work cafe or meet with a staff person, kind of like when we go to visit one of our members, oftentimes you register at the front desk. And so we have an iPad there with a very brief registration of their name and email address. And so we capture that data that way. And then if it's an outside company that is renting our space, on the contract, they will tell us how many people, because we have to set up the space, accordingly for them. And so we capture the numbers from the contract that way. So it's really kind of those 3 different areas where we're gathering the data.
Okay, sure. For both of you, does your chamber own or lease your space?
Go ahead, Tiffany. I'll let you go first.
Sure. So we own our space, and we have about $100,000 left on our mortgage.
and we lease our space. We signed a 10-year lease in March of 2018 when we moved in here.
Okay. For both of you, have you had any unexpected challenges since people have started using these spaces? Someone laughed. Yes, no.
Yes, there's always unexpected challenges. There's the normal things that we thought we were going to have, like, I don't know, basic operation stuff, like what do you do with the trash, and do we need to increase our cleaning services, and who's going to make coffee? Again, we're only a 6-person staff, and we're all over the place all the time. What we're struggling with now that we're looking at adjusting is our hours. So we kind of have an unwritten rule of you don't leave somebody in the building alone. So making sure that we are open at appropriate hours for our member use and for our community use, but we're not overtaxing the team. So for instance, we had our golf tournament 2 weeks ago, and usually the whole team goes to the golf tournament. So now we're like, well, wait, the hub has to stay open, so who's staying back? So logistically, we're trying to figure out that kind of stuff, which sounds really simple in the grand scheme of everything. In the construction process, you always find something that was unexpected. We found live wires inside the wall and random things like that that we had to deal with. But overall, everything was pretty much as expected.
For us, I would say a couple of things. I mean, first, we always have visitors, so it's a lot different. If you think about in your own home or something, when you have a visitor to your home, there's just a little bit, you're on your best behavior, I guess. And so, our team knows we basically have visitors all the time now. And so that creates a different environment, but it's been very positive because we get some great energy by having people in the space. When we have a large group, so our conference center, as I mentioned, at round tables holds 130 people, and we've had a couple of times where one company rented it for 2 full days, and when they would take breaks, imagine 130 people kind of infiltrating your office. That can be a little bit disruptive, so we had to kind of learn, how to cordon off like space for just the staff and put up signs to kind of keep the staff having some of their own private space. So that was kind of a learning opportunity for us, but we've adapted to it. And, everybody, when they're on our team, they know that, this is all about energy and being interactive with our members. And so they really don't mind it at all.
Okay. There was a question on whether either spaces were available 24/7. It sounds like, Tiffany, yours is not. You need to have someone there the entire time. That wouldn't work too well for a 6-person staff. Rick, what about you?
Ours is not either. Our work cafe is our business hours. If someone's renting the space and we have an upcharge for using the space after hours, we charge extra for that because our staff person would have to stay and be here because we're kind of the same thing that Tiffany said. We don't have people here without a staff person supervising.
Okay. And then finally, has the sponsorship for these facilities impacted sponsorships for programs and events?
It has not for us. We, as I mentioned, did it as a almost like a capital campaign. And we asked for people to make a 5-year commitment, asked for larger. It was about $1.5 million for us for the total was what we raised. And we really said we can't have this affect the other sponsorship because then it's not really a net gain for us. And we didn't have any company that, shifted money from one place to another. It was all a net gain in sponsorship for us.
Us as well. We didn't lose any sponsorships elsewhere. Our sponsors that we do have are organizations that don't engage with us in any other way. So it allowed us to have another opportunity for them to participate in a way that was meaningful to them.
Okay. Will your sponsors have to pay annually to keep their name on the wall or the room named after them?
Yes.
For us, after the 5 years. Yeah, ours is for 5 years. Ours is for 5 years for the original commitment, and then we'll go back to them and ask them if they want to continue or if we will open that up for somebody else to have that opportunity. And then I'm not exactly sure yet if we're going to ask people to make a long-term commitment or if we'll do it annually.
And what about you, Tiffany?
Ours is annual.
Annual, okay. All right, well, those are the questions that we have. If you guys have any other questions for Rick or for Tiffany, you want to talk in more detail about their these projects and these spaces that they've transformed, their contact information is on the screen in front of you, and please feel free to reach out. So thank you so much, Tiffany and Rick, for presenting. We really appreciate it. Our next ACCE webinar will take place a week from today at 2 o'clock East Coast time, and we'll have Jennifer Chittenden of the Des Moines Downtown Chamber and Jonathan Packer of the Austin Chamber sharing how they evaluated and selected new customer relations management software, including their technical and staffing challenges and how they launched these new systems that have helped their teams increase membership sales and promote member engagement, improve customer service. So you can register for that webinar on our ACCE events page, which you can get to by clicking on professional development, hovering over events, and then clicking on upcoming webinars. So again, thank you so much to both of our panelists. Thanks to all of you for your participation and your interest. This webinar the recording of this webinar should be up on our webinar page no later than Monday the 9th, and we will have the presentation slides as well. So thanks again, wishing everyone a wonderful afternoon, and we will see you on the next ACC webinar. Bye-bye.